Good evening, podcast nation, podcast world. We are so excited to be back with episode, what is this, 9?
It's episode 9.
Episode 9, it's 2 in our coming back for the fall. So it's our second one in this series. And tonight, after much begging and pleading, we finally got the one and only, my beautiful esposa, Kris.
Months and months of convincing.
This is our podcast premiere.
I've just been waiting to be invited.
Oh no, we've been begging. I had to get on my knees and beg for her to come. But it's great. Everybody give a shout out to Kris. We are so glad that she came to be with us. This is going to be great. We're having some great conversations. And last week, Kris, I started the conversation. We started the whole conversation. Oh, and of course, before I go on, the one and only Sam I Am.
Yes.
Over here. You'll hear his voice from off in the wilderness. It's a voice crying in the wilderness from time to time, speaking to us. So we were talking about, Kris and I just went on sabbatical. First time, unfortunately, I'm not bragging. This is a confession time. Our first time in 30-something years of ministry, 33 for me, 30 for us together.
Right.
Years of ministry, never taking a sabbatical. So we took a month sabbatical, and we learned a lot.
We learned a lot.
It was, am I overstating to say it was life-changing and really transformational?
It was definitely transformational. And what is that quote that we hear all the time about, you really need sabbatical when you haven't had Sabbath?
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
we were making up for a lot of lost Sabbaths.
That sabbatical becomes, it's always good to have a sabbatical, but sabbatical becomes imperative when you're making up for Sabbaths in arrears that were missed in arrears, which that's really what we're going to talk about today. That's a great segue. Last week we talked about one of the things that we learned is to slow down the rhythm of our life. I think if there's something that we always added to the mix is we're go-getters. We don't let a lot of grass grow under our feet. And I think a lot of people think that's just me, but you're as guilty as I am.
I just blame you for being that way.
Thank you.
But
it's true confession time, folks.
But on our sabbatical, I did realize that I like projects. I like my to-do list. I like going, and it can be a coping mechanism.
Yes.
Or when you just, I'm like, I don't want to deal with this. Let's get on to the next thing.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Are you using your busyness as a coping mechanism?
For sure, but I did try to do a puzzle and get you to do a puzzle with me. But even on my puzzle, I was trying to achieve my puzzle. And then
I'm not going to ever, never, ever am I going to do a 1,000-piece puzzle. That is death by 1,000 needles to me. I played games. We did all kinds of, but there was no way I was doing a puzzle. It's just not in my psyche. But one of the things we learned is while it's great to forge on, while it's great to not quit and give up and to live by faith and trust God and overcome, those are admirable things. But when you wear your busyness like a badge of honor, you've got a problem. So last week we talked about slowing down, which is something we did.
You know what I just thought about? It's kind of like whenever, because we travel a lot, you have to pack your suitcase and then you have to unpack it and wash your clothes and repack it. But it's kind of like whenever you never have Sabbath, you never slow down. It's like never unpacking your suitcase or washing your clothes out, and you keep piling it in,
just put new clothes in,
piling it in, and never being able to reset.
That's really good.
Yeah.
So this week, we want to talk about another thing we learned from sabbatical, which is the weekly practice of Sabbath. Now, before you tune us out and say, that sounds boring, I'm going to ask you to stay with us because maybe you'll be like us. And I will say that we've always had a day off. And one of the big revelations for me, but I think for both of us is because I had a pastor growing up that really was overworked and he burned out, and it really became a devastating thing. And he came to a point where he realized he never took a day off, so he started taking a day off. So as a young teenager, I realized in ministry, you need a day off. So we've always technically had a day off. But on our day off, we would do all the things we didn't get to do because we were working for the church all week. So run errands, pay bills, do our budget, mow the lawn, clean the house.
Or sometimes just use it as an escape.
Yes, that's the other thing.
Netflix binge because I'm so stressed out. I just need to check out. But it's not life-giving or resting in the love of God.
I hope people caught that because that was another thing. A lot of times we would maybe sleep in or have coffee in bed and watch TV, but it was to escape the pressure, not process the pain.
Is escaping or entering in? And
so we were not entering in, we were escaping. And then by the afternoon, you felt like, man, I got to get something done. So you get up and do all your to-do lists for life outside of church. So whether you're in ministry or not, a day off is not necessarily a Sabbath. So what is the difference in a day off and Sabbath? We could spend a lot of time talking about it. And I really want to just talk very quickly about the principles of Sabbath.
Okay.
And then we can talk about the practicalities of how we're working that out in our life.
Which will look
now.
different.
It'll look different for everybody. The thing is, Jesus, I said this, if you want more about the theology of Sabbath, you can go listen to Soul Care, I think part 2 or 3, the series we did on Sunday morning. We're not trying to re-preach all that, but we are taking tidbits out of it and putting it into this conversation so that we can then unpack it a little bit more practically. So we talked about in Soul Care how Jesus, he broke the rules of Sabbath, but he never broke the rule of Sabbath.
Right.
There are so many rules for Sabbath, and the disciples, I mean, so many still are.
Right.
And so the disciples come and they take some harvest and eat because they're hungry on Sabbath. And they said, how come your disciples are working on Sabbath? And he said, I'm the Lord of the Sabbath, which that was a big statement. He just called himself the Messiah. And he said, the Sabbath, man is not for the Sabbath is for man. So the rules are to help you. So Jesus broke the rules of Sabbath. He didn't break the rule of Sabbath. And Jesus can tell us what the rule of Sabbath is for us and what the rules of Sabbath should be for us in different seasons, right? Yes. But a few things that we keep in there, like non-negotiables, are that you should rest every time. You should have a time of reflection.
It's an unplugged downtime.
Yes, reflection, readjust. And then you have, it ultimately ends in a reset, but you have some refreshing. So you rest, you readjust, you rest, you reflect, you readjust, and then you refresh. And those 4 elements in there, then all of that together kind of equals a reset.
Yes.
Now, just quickly, you'll see the elements of this in what we're talking about in the practicality, but the reflection is from that's what God did. He worked 6 days, and in that he said, it is good, it is good, it is good, it is good. It is not good in Genesis chapter 1. So we do that. We take survey. We reflect. What in our week was good? What was good? What was good? What was not good? Some of the not good is because people hurt us, and we have to forgive them. Some of the not good is because we damaged or did things damaging to ourselves or others, and we need to repent.
Right.
And ask for forgiveness. So that's part of the reflection, right? Then we make course correction. We recalibrate. We readjust, right? What do I need to do different? And then we have a time of refreshing. So we make sure that it's enjoyable. Some people call it Sabbath delight. Sabbath delight.
Things
we love that.
Bring life.
So all that together gives you a reset, right? So you'll see traces of that, but we decided, look, so we want to do what the Bible says. We want to labor to enter into rest. Hebrews says, if you want the rest of God, what's the rest of God? It's all the parts of God you haven't seen yet. Then you need to enter into the rest of God. Once you learn to enter into the rest of God, you can then step into the rest of God. And so it resets you for the rest. You rest to get the rest. So we have some practicalities. Now, we learned some things when we were in Israel. We won't take the time to get into all that. I'll tell a funny story in that sermon about Shabbat elevators and people fighting right before Shabbat. They were trying to keep the rules, and they missed the principle. They missed the whole purpose because they're having the practices. We don't want to do that. Now, if you are for lack of better terms, typical churchgoer, if you're not in vocational ministry where Sunday is your job, then you could do Saturday at 6 to Sunday night at 6. And
this is kind of a new principle for a lot of us Americans to think that it's from 6 to 6.
Which that was always the way they did it, sundown to sundown.
Right. And
their day began in the evening.
Right. That is a very more Hebrew mentality than our Western.
But once we saw it, we realized what the advantage of beginning in the evening is.
That. Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about that in a second. Mm-hmm. So, but for us, because Sunday's a work day, or if you have swing shifts, or, Sam and Ashton work, her work is all over the map. So we'll maybe talk about that in a minute. We do Thursday at 6 to Friday at 6. And talk about some of the things that we do that are practices we put in. You don't have to do these, but find your own. Because Sabbath is about rhythm. So this is kind of becoming our rhythm.
I love to make something sacred about Sabbath, and that it has a start.
You love ceremony.
I do love ceremony.
She loves ceremony.
I try not to be religious about it, but there's something beautiful about tradition.
Yeah, and you're contemplative. You love to reflect. And that's part of it, the reflection.
Contemplating and meditating, pondering the goodness of God.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want to celebrate Sabbath? If you would say every week, wouldn't you like to stop and ponder the goodness of God?
Yes.
You're like, yes. And so I have certain little battery candles that look like real candles that at 6 I say a prayer and I turn them on and they stay on for 24 hours.
You turn on the candle.
Yeah.
And we turn off the phone.
Turn off the phone.
We actually we have iPhones, so we put them on downtime where all of our apps are shut down except for Maps and the Bible app
our music.
And music. But only 3 people can get through.
Right. That is, we're stopping.
We're unplugging. Because that's what Sabbath means is Shabbat, to stop, to cease. So you got to stop some things so that you can engage deeper.
But I love having something every week that this is where I'm entering in. And we enter into Sabbath rest so that Sabbath rest can enter into us.
Yes.
And it's like saying, Lord, I'm giving you access. Every wife or child even would love to know once a week you're going to have full access to your parent, full access to your spouse, to spend time with them, to enjoy them. Who wouldn't? And so we're saying the Lord of all, Father, I'm giving you at this time and access to me.
So she starts with a candle. Mm-hmm. We have a Sabbath meal. If we don't have time to cook a nice meal, then we Uber Eats it.
Yes.
Some families have a big dessert once a week. Mm-hmm. Comer talks about that in his book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. They have a giant cookie
in a
skillet cookie, whatever you call that, with ice cream. It's the only time a week they do that. But then after that, or during that meal, we do some reflection. It is good. It is good. What it got. It's table time, and we have table talk. But we don't talk about church or projects or work. We talk about spiritual things. We don't talk bad about people.
Right.
We talk about what did God do good in your life? What happened? And if kids are at the table, you gear it in a way that they can engage in. We had our 2.5-year-old grandson with us the other day at Shabbat meal, our Sabbath meal, and we had a meal that we knew he would love, and he was so excited about it. And we went around and talked about what God did good. And then we said, okay, Zion, it's your turn. He's 2.5. And he basically said what we said, but he's learning.
We're training him to stop and look for where God's moving in your life.
Yes.
Once a week.
So it's a time of rehearsing the goodness of God. Then we play games, or on Sabbatical, I beat her every time at this board game she loves called
Not
Sequence.
every time.
I did. I won every time.
No,
However, recently, God, I got, pride comes before a fall.
I think so, because
And
I have
so
won
I
every time
now
lately.
you've been winning lately. So that's that, I think I had a great fall. But we and then we'll carry on conversation, play games, maybe watch a movie. But again, we're not escaping, we're delighting. We're
entering
refreshing.
in.
We're entering in. We're not running away, we're entering in.
Right.
Then the next morning, our rhythm is we spend extended time. We sleep in as late as we can. For me, that's not very late because I'm an early riser. But then we don't set an alarm and have to get up. Then we have extended devotions and quiet time and journaling and meditation and scripture memorization, that kind of thing. Then we do something fun throughout the day, and we make it the highlight of the week. For us, we spend time together, or you spend time in community. One of the things we learned is they would invite people around for their meal to kick it off in the evening. But then throughout the day, you can do fun things.
Meal, that's where they said the blessing over their children.
Yes.
So Sabbath is a time of blessing.
And then at 6 o'clock, you turn the candles off, and it's back. It's back to work.
Right.
And so that is kind of our rhythm that we're working on. But we have we travel and have sometimes crazy schedules, so we have to adjust. It's not always that week. Sometimes we can't do it at the same time. You were out of town last weekend, and so I had my Sabbath on my own time.
Right.
Sam, talk to us about how you and Ashton are kind of navigating, because she's a nurse and works crazy shifts. And
yeah, her schedule is different every week, so we actually don't always have Saturdays and Sundays off together. So there's some of that, like you said, where I may have to have a Sabbath on a certain day and she'll have hers on another day, but it's also just being flexible.
And you may have to work to facilitate that person to do that, right? So like if she's going to take a Sabbath, especially when the baby comes, because they're pregnant, about to have a baby, somebody's got to watch the baby 24/7, and it could be we could help you guys with that. But it might be sometime you say, look, I'll take the baby, you go have some extended time alone, process pain, reflect, refresh, rest, sleep in, whatever. So it's about being intentional, right?
Yeah, it's about being intentional. And when you've made a resolve that this is going to be a high priority in our lives, you can move all sorts of things around and problem solve through, things that come up, right? There's almost always a wrench that's going to get thrown into the mix.
It's going to be a challenge. And we always have excuses.
Yeah.
My kids are too young. My kids are too old. My schedule won't allow it. But we've got to, that's why Hebrews says to labor to enter into rest. Yeah. Labor to get into Sabbath.
And that's where we're not being religious, that it has to be on a Sunday. It has to look like this, but we'll pivot. And
sometimes it may even be, you say, I can't do 24 hours, but you could do 12 hours, whatever. I think we talked about that. So I hope this helped people. I hope it helped me. I want to challenge you. If God took Sabbath, it wasn't because he was tired or wore out. Sabbath is not, you don't rest because you're tired. You rest for rhythm. So he set the rhythm of our life. We've said it many times. Too many Christians are like casinos. Casinos have no clocks and they have no windows. They don't want you to know the rhythm of life. They want to set the rhythm and keep you moving all the time. We got to slow down and savor the goodness of God and process some things. All that begins with a Sabbath. So the Bible, the only commandment that gave us the reason why, hey, don't kill people. Don't steal.
Because I said so.
Because I said so. But he says, the Sabbath, keep it holy, because God worked 6 days and rested one. You should do the same. So even the idea of having a 5-day work week was so we could have a day off. The day off is the day to work on all the things that we need to work on when we're not at work. And then Sabbath is for rest, reflection, readjusting, refreshing and resetting. So I hope that helps you. I hope we've started a great conversation for you and your family. Whatever your family looks like, you can make it work. You can do it. Well, that concludes our podcast for today. However, I think we need to get Kris back next week.
We have to have PK back.
She's got to come back. So I think this is your official invitation.
Okay,
please.
Since I'm invited.
Will you come back next week?
Okay.
And we'll continue.
I will pray about it.
Pray about it. We'll see. You've got to tune in to see if she comes back next week. We will continue the conversation on thoughts from our sabbatical. Well, we say it every week. We'll say it again. We love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Have a great week.